Hello, everyone. This is our lore video during our off week this week. And for the people who don't know, I'm Nathaniel. I'm the DM of our Rites of Binding game.
I'm Madison. I play Fern, the half-orc cleric.
I'm Piper. I play Sylvia Amir. I am the elf divination wizard.
Yeah, and we are going to be here talking about things that happened in Act 1 that we didn't have on our streams. And we're just going to kind of go over it. We're going to talk about our different chapters that we played through. And it's going to be just a discussion about what happened in it, so it kind of catches everyone else up without having to read maybe blocks of text that you may or may not actually really want to do. So
we're way funnier than blocks of text.
I would hope so, honestly.
At least more interesting.
Yeah, at least more interesting.
I can't speak for Piper, you know.
I don't claim to be funny.
To start with, our first kind of chapter and kind of beginning section was what I named as the Sunstone Assault, which is where you first kind of came together. Everyone met except Gorfrak on a boat traveling eastward to the far north near Sunstone. Through a weird storm, the ship crashed and everyone washed up on a beach where the party kind of reconvened and kind of met up for the first time. Because everyone was going to this big celebration in about a month, they decided to kind of work together and kind of head over that way. In that regard, I mean, where were the rest of your guys' opinions on this kind of section of time?
Sylvia was annoyed that the boat crashed and that this weird cleric-looking half-orc had been following her around, peppering her with questions.
Hey, I hadn't met an elf before. This was interesting. We got a spark roleplay somehow, huh? I do seem to remember that the storm didn't seem entirely natural, though I don't think we...
Yes, I do remember that. Still suspicious about that.
We have a lot to be suspicious about. It was... Yeah. I mean, also, literally everybody else disappeared. It was just Fern, Sylvia, and Let, the monk, who washed up on the beach. And then, boom, there was a cranky old druid there. Hi, Gorfrak.
Yep.
Yeah, you didn't meet anyone else from the crew.
So that's heavily concerning. I'm deeply concerned.
We have bigger fish to fry than to worry about that.
No, look at that smile on his face. He's planning something.
He's planning something. This should be expected.
He's always planning something.
I'm suspicious. Very suspicious.
Anyway, so we met Gorfrak on the shore, and Gorfrak was hospitable enough to have us come back to the little elf village she was living in.
Yeah, Sunstone.
She's in exile. From somewhere. Yes. We didn't really know where yet. She just mentioned, yeah, I came here because I got exiled from somewhere else. And we were like, okay.
Yeah.
And
yep, so we went to the
forest by the sea, right? And then we went south a little bit to the nearest settlement. Or was that Sunstone? I don't entirely remember.
We went to Sunstone.
Yeah, so you went through the Forest of Harper and went directly to Sunstone, to there, where you met the village. This is the first time that you interacted with the character of Alpathis, who is the son of the Turnthroth family, or a noble family that is not as high up as Sylvia's family, but still relatively prominent.
Blue Dragonborn wizard?
Wizard,
yes, he's a wizard. I know him from school.
You guys talked about that in school. Yep. And, you know, the three hobos were like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Yeah, so you interacted with the innkeeper a bunch there. And
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you had a bunch of
notes until like a couple arcs later. So
yeah, there was a roleplay moment actually specifically that she had a pumpkin drink that was her specialty.
That does sound vaguely familiar.
Yes.
Did it have alcohol or not?
I don't I don't remember that part because that was a improv moment that happened with Gorfrak.
Gotcha. It's been an ongoing theme of Fern tries to get alcohol, and Sylvia is adamant that the 16-year-old is not going to have alcohol.
I don't know why you're so adamant about that. This is fantasy. People drink.
Listen, you get into enough trouble when you're not inebriated. We just don't need to make it worse.
But I could have so much fun playing an inebriated 16-year-old.
Note, the first character you brought to me was 12 to 13.
This is true. And then I was like, we were both like, we should probably age this one up.
I was like, I don't want to murder a 12 to 13-year-old. So,
if I'm trying to murder a 16-year-old.
I mean, that was my minimum level as a 16-year-old.
Fern's 16, Sylvia's 120.
Yeah.
Small age gap. Okay, but it is worth noting that in D&D lore, species age differently. Elves reach adulthood at 120, so you're the equivalent.
No, they reach adulthood at 100.
Oh. You're not much older than like a 20-year-old. Which
yes,
is
but
how
I've
old
experienced a lot more.
Fair, but it's also worth noting that in D&D lore, half-orcs age a little bit faster. So like a 16-year-old is closer to 18 or 20. At least in traditional lore. Our DM.
Okay, so Nathaniel can sleep at night knowing that if you die, he killed only an 18, 20-year-old.
Okay, so I can take that bar off my life and don't have to worry about that anymore.
Can I take
Anyways, while we were at Sunstone, these weird cobalt creatures attacked, and we had to deal with that, and the guards were useless, but you know.
It was your first combat. It went relatively well. Yeah, there was a bunch of kobolds. There were actually a bunch of them. And you guys did pretty well against them. Some of them did flee, though. I believe the shaman and one of his little specialty, more heavily armed one.
Right.
Yes, I remember that.
One. Wow.
So I remember thinking, are we going to run into this guy later? Is this guy going to be a problem? And nope, never again.
I haven't seen him since. But you also haven't been in the area, so I mean.
That's true.
We're also like
at this point, it wouldn't. Right at this point, it wouldn't be a problem even if they're heavily armored. Just one fireball later, they're all toast. So
yeah, they're not too strong.
Fireball as a solution to maybe too many problems.
Hey, it saved our lives on the Siege of Lux. So
yeah. Trying to think of anything else that kind of
what
is
really happened in Sunstone is we got to know each other. We fought. We kind of felt out what the group dynamic was going to be. You know,
figured out where to go next.
Yes, we decided to go to Hexaware, right?
Yep. Trying to figure out how to get to Lux more quickly since, the boat mysteriously crashed and everyone else vanished.
Right. Get to the capital city for the festival, which we're all conveniently going to because D&D.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the one thing I requested that you guys just needed to want to go there. That was the only thing I wanted out of that. From that point forward, I didn't care.
DM, it's a good plot device. We respect it.
So yeah, that was kind of all that really happened in that specific kind of chapter a bit. There wasn't really too much else that happened, at least from my notes that I'm looking at. You did encounter your first Orb of Wondrous Things there. In the ship. And I can tell that this was my old notes since I didn't have a name for the orbs at the time. And I just had blue orb.
That's right. It was like
Gorfrak. Wait, did it? Right. Gorfrak got that from the bottom of the ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or from the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
That's right.
There's some other things you could have gotten, like there was a captain's journal you could have gotten. You didn't end up getting that.
Is this just going to be 30 minutes of us recounting what happened and you going, well, you could have also grabbed this, this, and this.
I'm just providing insight. Going back, looking at things like that's just a fun tidbit that I don't even remember most of this in terms of like, there was a captain's journal you could have gotten.
Well, to be fair, it was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
That's true.
I guess we should move on to Hexaware then?
Yes, the werewolves in Hexaware. So you guys went, I believe, to the southeast
More east than south, but yes.
Yeah. Let me pull up my notes for that section. I do believe this is your first time encountering the fortune teller who's on this road as well.
Yes, that's right. That's an important moment.
That is, we should talk about that while he looks up his notes.
Yes, so
How did it
we are
start?
just walking along the road, and this strange woman asks if we can like help her with her cart. Her
Oh, yeah,
wheel
the
had
beautiful
broken
one.
off. Yes, and I think Gorfrak did something to try to fix the wheel. Anyway,
Fern has mending.
that's what it was. Okay, I couldn't remember. I knew it was either you or Gorfrak. So you mended the wagon, and then she asked us if we wanted a reading. We were a little sketched out. We decided to. What?
She's sketchy.
Yeah, a little bit. But we decided to go ahead and go into her mysterious cart anyways, and so she gave us a reading. And we all got to keep our cards, and those certainly became more relevant later.
Yeah, I think we recorded the beginning of arc 2. She read cards, but in the first arc, we all had different. Did we all have different cards about where we were?
Yes, we all had different cards.
And then we rolled a d20 for the middle card, and I honestly couldn't tell you what card I got. And
you got the one of balance, and then you used that one to class change.
Class change, because I was a knowledge cleric and realized that didn't fit Fern very well. Became a peace cleric. Fits her better.
Yeah.
And did I have the card of wisdom? Something like that?
No.
I can't remember.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Trying to think. I didn't write it down.
And it's not in my inventory anymore, of course.
Yeah, it was removed. I think it was. Oh no, it was a percent. Yeah, I think you did get the one of wisdom because it allows you to spot something in Illick's Cross. No, Illick's Cross.
That's why it disappeared.
Yeah,
right,
and
it disappeared all magic-y. But we all got the same final card, which was, I think now it was like a white city or something. It was alluding to going to Lux, and then
a white city with dark ruins underneath.
That's right.
Yes, and we really should have been more suspicious about that, but hindsight's 2020.
What are we gonna do about that? Like, we knew shit was up in Lux. We just had a hard time figuring out what.
I know.
Yeah. So you met her along the way, so that was your first encounter with her. This was also the first opportunity you could have used any of the Orbs, Wonders, Things. The Wonders, Orbs, Things, whatever combination of those two words. And you went to Hexaware, which is just honestly just a typical human town. Nothing too crazy about them. They're agricultural focused.
We met a bard there, didn't we?
We met a tiefling bard. Yep. We met her. Her name was Diana. About how there is nothing interesting happening in this town, and she wants to do interesting things. Everyone is boring.
Yep, that is correct. She was very upset about that, and there was nothing going on in the town. Unbeknownst to her, there was a cult that was in the town that was trying to turn people into werewolves.
Our first brush with the werewolf cult, which we thought would be our only.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is also our time where we had went searching for the loot that was stolen from Diana, to be misinterpreted by Let to be loot as in gold and doubloons.
L-O-O-T, loot.
Not L-U-T-E, loot.
Which she lost her instrument loot.
Yeah. You did end up finding that.
Really funny.
You did pick up a note from, after doing some interrogation on one of the cultists, after you did some investigation that had the name FC on it. You didn't know who that was at the time.
Yeah.
Fabian Campbell.
Phineas. Damn it. Fabian. Damn it. Looking back, it makes so much sense.
So this is your first time encountering the name, but also the person within the town as you fought within a graveyard against the cultists and werewolves. And you had also met the monster hunter who assisted you in that battle.
What was his name?
Yes.
His
I
name,
remember that.
I think it was
Zachary?
Zachary, yes, it was
I
Zachary.
remember that.
I have an uncanny memory. I don't know what to tell you.
I need to pull up my character
Terrifying.
icon. This is when we used Roll20, and
Right. And we
So I
haven't
have
seen
a-
Zachary since.
he was in Lux.
He was in Lux for the
Oh.
tournament. Yeah.
He
That's right.
actually was teamed up with Diane. He was turned up with one other. Oh yeah, he was also teamed up with an elf that you weren't aware of, and she was like really quiet.
Okay.
That's why we forgot her. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. This first brush with the werewolves is also where I think it was just Fern who failed the con save and got lycanthropy.
Yeah.
Correct.
None of us were smart enough to realize it at the time. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, you don't really get the effect. It just says you have lycanthropy now. You don't know until
full moon.
Yeah. Unless you think that you're like, oh, I'm going to take a look at it, sort of situation.
Yeah. Again, unfortunately, the first time.
The first time. Yes, there are subsequent times, and we'll talk about that. Oh, that is funny. Did anything else happen in Hexaware?
We rescued Diane from the werewolf. She was all tied up.
All tied up, all trussed up.
Yeah.
Made some allies, made some enemies, made more enemies than we realized. Maybe. But
and then we started to go to the Nightwood Forest.
Oh, is that where the Nightwood Forest fell?
Yes, because we decided to go from Hexaware to Illick's Cross to get a boat.
Right, and there's the Nightwood Forest in there.
So in between then and there, this is your first time where you met a old druid woman named Fjorm.
Yes,
There was a kind of little shrine. You also met the creatures that are called Vurias. These little like furry, feathery, white, little raptor-like kind of creatures. They're very much intelligent and they like trading things of equal or more value. To them anyway, maybe not to everyone else. So we had some negotiations with that as you first encountered these interdimensional creatures. And yeah, we interacted with her. This was the first kind of time I used this multiple area investigation zones where you could go to different circles and there'll be something there depending on what you want to do interact with.
Shit, there is something worth mentioning about Fjorm and the Varios. That was the first time we ever heard about raw magic.
Yes.
Because they
forgot about that.
Use it the portal or something. I don't entirely know, dimension hop or something. We were like, oh, that's cool. This is probably a minor detail that won't ever come up again.
Right.
Yeah.
Little did we know.
Right.
But yes, then into the Nightmare Woods?
Nightwood Forest.
Nightwoods. They're just
not Nightmare. If they'd been called Nightmare, I don't think we would have gone. It was a nightmare, but not in the name.
You also were, I believe, kind of a little bit slow in terms of time. Because you did have a month to get there before things would start happening within Lux. So I think you were like trying to at least push as fast as you could in that direction. I think the only hindrance you had was the Nightwoods, and that one ate a lot of your days.
Yes, it did, because we were wandering around forever.
Yes.
It was a cool system, though.
It was cool.
Do you want to go south or north? We don't know what'll be in either. Oh no, after a couple of paths, this is a dead end, and then you gotta retrace yourself back, and it was a whole thing. And then you were like, you don't even have to, it's not just that you have to get through this mess of a maze of a forest. No, there's like suspicious demon stuff happening in this forest.
Yeah, you are being kept within this forest. You cannot escape until you deal with something.
Which we did, though I don't entirely remember how that went.
I believe we found a pond with fish in it, and that's how we first encountered Serdanor.
Right, Serdanor is the saint of decay, nature?
She is a former sage. And let me check her notes. But yeah, she was a
Theo.
former god who just kind of was like, I'm done with all that politics. He was like, I'm out. And she just kind of went to keep an eye on this forest.
Sages are the lesser gods, saints are the major gods. For the people watching this video who may not know the lore of the church as well as somebody who plays a cleric.
I don't even know the lore of the church as a character.
But Sylvia acts like she knows everything.
Yeah, Sertanor was a former sage. She was the goddess of aging, and she's kind of like wolf appearance.
Yes.
Character.
Right.
You met within this kind of like forest shrine where it just was basically like a stone circle with like stones, and there's a pond in the center. There's different little puzzles nearby. There was a poem that was read that had hints of what for you to do.
Decipher.
Which was created by Brunia. There was again the fish puzzle, and you needed the orb to put the fish in, because if you take a fish out, it becomes an orb. And the one that was missing was there was a blue fish that was missing, so you needed to put it in there with a specific combination.
Blue fish.
Oh my gosh!
Hanging out at this like random inn in the middle of the forest. That was also suspicious as hell.
And we went into the inn, and like the maitre d' was really suspicious and like not okay, really creepy. Yeah. And we were just interacting with him, and he was like, what did he say? He said something weird, like, you could take the orb if you'll bring it back, or like something weird like that. And finally, Let was just like, that's it, I'm taking it. So they grabbed the orb and ran
out.
And when we first saw the creepy inn, Gorfrak suggested we burn it to the ground. Later, we learned we probably should have just grabbed the orb and then burned it to the ground.
Yeah, we were trying to be like all diplomatic, but there was a creepy cult lady or something.
Yes.
Her name was weirdly normal.
Her name was Ashley.
Ashley.
The druid.
Except she was like a corrupted druid worshipping mother?
Yes.
Correct.
So we took the orb, once we got the orb from the creepy inn, we took it to the pond and spoke to Sertanor, and Sertanor explained to us that we needed to take this little piece of paper she gave us and put it on like the altar of the mother, so that the mother would like be banished from the forest, because the mother's presence had been what was corrupting everything, and Sertanor was trying to deal with it.
That is correct. Yeah. So
we went back to the inn and tried to trick our way to getting downstairs where
because Fern was like, I would love to join this cult, and Ashley was like, oh well, let me usher you downstairs. And Fern and Sylvia went downstairs with Ashley, and Gorfrak and Let stayed upstairs, so we split the party, which should never happen.
Upstairs. The two cannons.
I will also mention Ponaben was also part of this adventure.
That's
when you met her.
I love this. She was hanging out with a dude she was supposed to be escorting who was like sick or injured or something.
It was an injured traveler.
Right, I forgot about this.
Right, and she also couldn't escape the forest.
Yeah, no one could escape it, as Sertanor had basically locked it down.
Right.
To prevent these demon worshippers from leaving, basically.
Right.
And the corruption of the forest, basically.
The ghouls?
Yes. They acted as basically ghouls. They were basically in disguise, but.
And then like wasn't Ashley like opening a portal for the mother or something weird like that?
Yeah, she was trying to open a portal up. All you had to do is slap the divine word on there, and it basically blocked it. That's all you had to do. But at the same time, you had to fight everyone. You had Group A, which was down in the basement fighting simultaneously with Group B, who stayed upstairs, had to fight all the residents up there. Group B didn't do that well.
People almost died. It was fine.
Gorfrak would have died, but her card was the card of survival, which prevented her death.
I didn't realize at the time that was why. I thought the cards just prevented death, which is why when my card suddenly disappeared, I was like, what is going on?
Nope, that was specifically only avoiding death.
Wow.
Why is Gorfrak the one who's almost died twice?
Random, honestly.
Yeah.
That's how it ended up. I mean, Led almost died. He eventually ran out. Well, they did, but
Gorfrak had the lowest HP at the time. I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure.
Well, I know
There's
that
just
I
a
have
lot
really
of
low
them.
HP as a wizard. Okay.
Yeah, there was just. I do also remember that we killed, I think, everything except Ashley. Fern tried to spare her life, and Sylvia said no and killed.
Yep. Yep. That definitely happened
for the peace cleric.
100%. Sylvia was like, absolutely not. She's dying.
Yeah. That was right after I'd switched over to being a peace cleric too, and I was like, how do I do this? This is the right decision, but I don't know how to do this.
One thing that we haven't talked about is the graveyard that you guys encountered.
Oh,
yes, that was in the Nightwood Forest, right?
Yeah,
that was in the Nightwood Forest. Specifically, where Let proceeded to want to loot graves and looted the wrong one apparently, and had a ghost friend for up to the present still.
Well, it was a graveyard.
Oh, but now they've become friends, so it's fine.
They're friends now.
Now, it was a graveyard specifically for what I think it was a bunch of orcs, or at least part of the losing side of the Silent War.
Yes, which we didn't know at
the history of the world between Valdara, who, fun fact, is our current antagonist, and Ethios, who is like the current good guy. He's the head god of the church. And it was an orc general and a bunch of his dudes. And I only remember this because Fern was like, oh shit, this is a half-orc who became super famous. That's interesting to me as an orc, half-orc who's never known other half-orcs. And then Let was like, I'm gonna rob a grave. And they did.
Yep.
And well, they started having like nightmares and waking up in rivers.
Not until Lux.
It was more like nightmares for a little while. Then eventually rivers. It was getting worse. It wasn't looking good.
But we'll talk about that when we talk.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there. So we defeated the mother. People almost died, but they didn't. We barely made it out. And again, we learned we should have burned it to the ground when we first saw it.
Fireball is not always the answer, Piper.
I wasn't even the one suggesting we burn it. It was Gorfrak, and I was like, no, let's not do that. Again, we should have burned it to the ground.
Gorfrak thinks we should burn every aspect of society.
That's true. It was a creepy end, though.
It was a creepy end. Yeah. But we got out.
We also have like a battle on a bridge, right? As we emerged from the forest or something like that. I can't remember.
When you first arrived, you battled on a bridge with them.
That's what it was.
I think there's some ghosts in general.
Gotcha.
General ghosts. Gosh, I forgot.
So then from there you went to Illick's Cross.
In the woods.
And
got on a boat. Let flirted with the captain or whoever was in charge of admitting people and secured passage for us from Illick's Cross to Ashtabluff.
Across a big bay here.
Oh, and Valpathis was there too, I'm pretty sure. I remember Valpathis was on the boat because we were like catching up and exchanged spells.
Yeah.
Right?
So you got to town and you went to the mayor and got money out of that, resolving that.
Right.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Where we saw the Green Band rebels, like one of the only times.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I totally forgot about that.
They were there. They were unhappy with their situation. I believe it was a dwarf that you met.
Yes, that's right. We went to like a dwarven inn or something too.
But because of the route we took to get to Lux, we pretty much bypassed a lot of the settlements where that was a strong issue.
Yeah, you didn't encounter really any of the rebels except here. Valpathis was also here, you were right. He was staying at the inn, and this is where you kind of had the interaction with Valpathis and Ponabent as they knew each other already.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, you know these weirdos? You know these weirdos? Or the weirdos.
Hey, Valpathis and Sylvia go way back.
This is true. Yeah, right. noble children, whatever.
Yeah, I believe they had mentioned this is the first time they mentioned that they had a mission to help the Sierras in Titania.
Oh.
Did they mention that?
They did.
I don't.
Yeah, we just didn't
remember
even
hearing about the Sierras
think
until
about that.
this most recent.
Well, they did mention that they had a mission over there. I think you guys were like, "How did you meet?" And that's kind of how they're like, "Oh yeah, we had a mission over there,"
yes.
and
Gotcha.
We've got.
and I think it's kind of got blown by a bit.
Right. Probably.
Got to get over there. That is, I gotta know. But yeah,
I think we will sooner or later.
Aside from the fact that we later saw Pawn and Valpathis and Lux competing in the tournament, and then the Green Band Rebels factored later into the Siege of Lux, I think those were the only two super relevant things in Ilex Cross, except for you know getting past.
This is the first time you went to a generally better than good store.
Yes.
Right.
And you did take the boat that was the Second Wind, I think.
And so began our long history of seeking out candy. Because Lux,
yes, I believe there was peppermint candy there, or was it
peppermint?
Peppermint.
Okay.
We both lost our minds about there's peppermint candy.
Yeah. And that's kind of all that happened there. And then you kind of had your ocean journey, and we will.
Thoughts?
Huh?
Those are like the first 3 big things we did. There
wasn't too much else, really.
Nightmare Wood.
Well, that's where we'll conclude this episode today, and then the next time you end up seeing us, we will talk about the other chapters of Act 1. Goodbye, everyone.